Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got a huge update coming out regarding Russia to share with all of you. Over the last few days, I've been letting you guys know that the Biden administration was going to announce major sanctions against Russia, primarily targeting their energy sector. So we have a huge update today. As you can see here on your screen, U.S. Department of Treasury announces major sanctions on Russia's energy sector. That's a picture of Janet Yellen. She's the secretary for the Department of Treasury in the U.S. And today they imposed sanctions against Russian oil majors, Gazprom Neft and Surgut Neft Gas, if I'm pronouncing that right, two major oil producers in Russia, 183 vessels, dozens of oil traders, oil field service providers, insurance firms, and energy officials. And there was a statement that came out from a Biden official that reportedly stated that this could slash Russia's revenues by billions per month. Okay, this could be very big, guys. Okay, they're going after Russia's shadow fleet also. 183 vessels, part of that shadow fleet. As far as we know, there's a minimum of 200 vessels that Russia's using right now to circumvent sanctions from the West and still transport oil around the world. So this is going to put very major impacts on Russia. We'll see if the Trump administration keeps this in place whenever they go in. So I want to show you all these details and talk about this a little bit more in depth. We're also hearing that the UK jumped in as well to target these two major oil companies inside of Russia. They apparently also sanctioned them. And then also I have some information that Japan has jumped on board also with some sanctions of their own. So let's go ahead and hop on over here real quick to The Guardian. I want to show you this report. It says Biden administration imposes toughest sanctions on Russian oil and gas. Measures targeting Russian energy sector attempt to leverage peace deal for Ukraine and Trump administration. Here's a picture of an oil tanker similar to what Russia uses. This is actually the Eagle S. It says right here, anchored in the port of Kilpilati, if I'm pronouncing that right. This is that oil tanker that's currently being held by Russian authorities as it's being accused of damaging some power cables and telecommunication cables in the Gulf of Finland just a couple weeks back. So it says right here, the Biden administration, on Friday imposed its broadest package of sanctions yet targeting Russia's oil and gas revenues in an attempt to give Kiev and the incoming administration of Donald Trump leverage to reach a peace deal for Ukraine. The move is meant to cut Russia's oil revenues for the war that started in February 2022 and has killed or wounded tens of thousands and reduced cities to rubble. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby said the timing was chosen because oil markets are in a fundamentally better place and the U.S. economy is better positioned to absorb any market disruption. Well, I mean, gas has been falling recently over the past couple of months. I think it got down to like around $70 a barrel. I checked earlier and it was touching like 76, but I also heard it got up to like $80 a barrel as well. So it says right here, since the start of Russia's war, benchmark oil prices have fallen almost $35 per barrel. Average U.S. gasoline prices have dropped from roughly $4 to just over $3 per gallon, Kirby told reporters at a White House briefing. The measures target Russian oil producers, tankers, intermediaries, traders and ports in what a senior U.S. official described as the most significant sanctions yet against the Russian energy sector. The U.S. Treasury slapped sanctions on Russian companies Gazprom Neft and Surgut Neft Gas that explore, produce, and sell oil, and 183 vessels that have shipped Russian oil, many of which are in the so-called shadow fleet of aging tankers operated by non-Western companies. They also include networks that trade the petroleum. When pressed about whether previous high gas prices had prevented earlier action against Russian oil revenues, Kirby responded, of course. Okay, so that's apparently a major reason why the United States did not impose these sanctions earlier is due to high gas prices that we have seen earlier this year. But we have seen gas and supposedly inflation coming down. I haven't really seen it so much in the stores or in when I go out shopping. But the government is claiming that prices are coming down, gas is coming down. And that's the reason why they were able to impose these sanctions and kind of circumvent that blow as we are going to see a rise in gas prices around the world due to this. So finally, it says right here, many of those tankers have been used to ship oil to India and China as the price cap imposed by G7 countries in 2022 has shifted much of Russian oil trade from Europe to Asia. Some of the tankers have shipped both Russian and Iranian oil. The sanctions come just days before Trump takes office, though Kirby denied they were intended as a bargaining chip for future peace negotiations. There's no expectation right now that either side is ready to negotiate, he said. So there is more information on this article. I'll cite it down below if you guys want to read some more of that. But real quick, I want to talk about Japan a little bit and some of the sanctions that they have imposed as well. So far we've talked about the U.S. Dropping sanctions on Russia, also the UK jumping in and sanctioning those two major oil companies in Russia also. Now we have Japan doing the same thing, okay? So this is from ABC News. It says right here, Japan imposes new sanctions on Russia. This actually just coming out today, January 10th, 2025. Japan on Friday approved additional sanctions against Russia over its war in Ukraine, including freezing the assets of dozens of individuals and groups and banning exports to dozens of organizations in Russia and several other countries that have allegedly helped it evade sanctions. Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi said Friday's cabinet the additional sanctions shows Japan's commitment to the Group 7 or G7 effort to strengthen sanctions against Russia over its invasion of Ukraine. Japan has imposed several previous rounds of sanctions, and the latest step comes a month after the Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba reaffirmed the country's policy at an online G7 summit in mid-December. It is Japan's contribution as part of the international effort toward achieving global peace and resolving the problems surrounding Ukraine because of the Russian invasion, Hayashi said. According to a joint statement by Japan's Foreign Trade and Finance Ministries, 11 individuals, 29 organizations, and 3 banks from Russia, as well as North Korean and Georgian bank that allegedly helped evade sanctions, were added to the asset freeze list. Okay, so lots of banks being targeted here, individuals, organizations. The cabinet approved imposing total export bans on 22 Russian military-related organizations, including technology and machinery makers. It also approved a list of 335 items that cannot be exported to Russia effective January 23rd. That list includes construction vehicles, engines and parts, motorized bicycles, communication and acoustic devices, mechanical tools and valves, according to the Trade and Industry Ministry. Export restrictions will also be applied to 31 non-Russian groups that the government says helped Russia to divert restricted goods and evade sanctions. 11 based in Hong Kong, 7 in mainland China, 8 in Turkey, 2 in Kyrgyzstan, and 1 each in Thailand, the UAE, and Kazakhstan. Absolutely insane, guys. A waterfall of sanctions flowing onto Russia right now, and it's going to be targeting mostly their energy sector again. So very huge, guys. We're expecting billions in losses for Russia. But the very big question here is this going to stop the war in Ukraine? We'll have to see what happens here over the coming weeks. It's going to take some time for these sanctions to take effect and hit the Russian economy. But I did hear today that even the stock market in Russia, the ruble was holding pretty stable. The stock market was stable. There wasn't really too many effects from this so far, which is pretty interesting. But it is Friday, so we'll see what happens starting on Monday. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear over the weekend that the ruble is starting to rise. And also, maybe their stock market will take a major hit next week. But I'll let you guys know whenever we get to Monday. So very big update today. Let me know what you think of all these details down below. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.